Okay, I'm just making sure that my microphone is working. Okay, and here we are. I'm already recording, so if you are listening to the recording, I encourage you, if you can, to take this on the go. One of my favorite ways to learn is to listen to things on my phone as I'm out walking about, as I think that's a very healthy practice. And as therapists, we need to take great care of ourselves. And so we're just a few minutes before the hour. And I see that we've got some people joining us already. Hello, Stephen. I've muted people upon entry to the Zoom room. So let me just look at you. Yes, so I can unmute you if you'd like to say hello. Hello, Kate. I just unmuted Stephen. Oh, he's still on mute. Kate, I don't have a microphone for you, but let's everybody.
Hi.
Oh, is that you, Stephen?
It is, yep.
Great to see you. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having us.
What a beautiful picture you have in the background there.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. Where are you located? What part of the world?
I'm in Red Deer, Alberta, Canada.
Oh, I love Canadians.
Oh,
I really do. Oh my gosh, my kids keep saying they want to move up to British Columbia.
yeah, it's beautiful there.
And let's see, we've got Christina that just came in. I just want to tell people on Zoom that I muted everyone upon entry, but you can unmute yourself. And I think it would be great if everyone just gets used to the chat. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll give everyone an orientation if you haven't been on Zoom before. Most people have, but it's one of those things that's like if you don't use it all the time, sometimes you have to hover with your cursor over the bottom, and then a little bar will pop up. It's sort of like your selection bar. The microphone's all the way on the left, and then video, and then sort of right in the middle is a chat box. So I'm going to just go ahead and say hi everyone, because it would be great if you got used to using the chat box now as we get started, because I really want those that came live, you guys, to get to answer, to get to ask your questions so that I can answer them. So Stephen's already said hi, thank you. Hi, Jana, I see you've just joined us. And I'm going to mute everyone for now, but I can unmute you, except for Kate. I don't see a microphone. I don't know when you joined, if it said joined with audio. That's usually what it does, but you can always chat and say hello. Hi, Christina. And she's saying hi to Jana. So hopefully everybody can see the chat box. And we're going to give people a couple more minutes to join. Oh, it's already 9 o'clock in Alberta. Are you on Mountain Time as well, Stephen? Okay. It's really funny. It's hard to, people were like Arizona, sometimes on the same time and sometimes it's not. So I know everyone was trying to figure out exactly when this started. But Brainspotting is a very international modality. And so we all need to be connected to each other. I speak a second language. I speak Spanish, so I love connecting with the Brainspotting community in Mexico, Central America, South America, and I know there's some great folks over in Spain. So I haven't been able to get over there yet, but that would be amazing. So it's 9 o'clock. Well, I'm on Mountain Time. It's 9 o'clock here. I'm just going to give everybody a couple more minutes. And I was saying, so we are recording this. It's already recording, and we're not going to obviously be talking about anything in terms of confidential information, because this is really just a general topic around marketing, publicity, and social media. So we're not going to be talking about clients. I know we all have clients in an hour. I do. So we will be keeping this to the hour, maybe a few minutes before, so we can all take a breath and get to our clients. It's interesting, speaking of that, the originating conversation for this session actually started, I hope Thad won't mind, we were just chatting on Facebook, but he was a guest on my podcast. And after the podcast, I sent him the link. Oh, we've got a bunch more people. Oh, hi, Brittany. Say hi in the chat box. And so the origin of this whole thing is that Thad, I sent him a link to his interview, and his interview was amazing. And we talked about his, if you don't know Thad Fry, he's out of Boulder. actually Broomfield, Colorado, and he was part of my intensive group. So as you know, with the intensives, you get really, really close. It's like a little family that you form. And so Thad and I have kept in touch, and he's dedicated his life to working with grief, and he's worked in hospice for 17 years. And he's like, when he got on my podcast, he's like, I can't stop talking about Brainspotting. And I'm like, I feel the same. I'm like, just so excited to talk about Brainspotting. And so it was obviously a very difficult and tender topic to cover on a podcast, but it was so powerful the way that he provided information and advice to families, because it's the inevitable. We're all going to deal with grief and loss in our life. And to have those tips ahead of time, especially coming from him with his experience and just his caring voice, was so amazing. So after the interview, I sent him a link, and he really liked the interview, and he's like, well, Catherine, how do I share it? And so I said, Dad, like, you just do this. And he's like, oh my gosh, you're such a tech geek, Catherine. And I'm like, well, I just have been doing this, for a long time. So it's kind of second nature to me. But, and he's like, I said, well, what if I just did like an hour long, this is the things that I do to put a system in place? And he's like, hell yeah. And then he said he's got a client this morning, so he's going to be listening to the recording. So hi, Thad, and thank you for the inspiration to have this group gathering. Okay, everybody that's just joined right now, I just want to let you know I've muted you all upon entry because I didn't know if there's going to be tons of people on, and we do have a good group here. So I'm just going to say hi again, everyone, so that you're used to the Zoom chat, because as we get started, which I'm going to do now, it will be great to hear from you if you can get used to putting something in the chat box. I wanted to get your why as to why you're here. Why a conversation about marketing, about publicity, about social media? Simon Sinek always says, start with your why. And so I wanted to start there. So if you guys go to the bottom, well, it's on the bottom of mine, sometimes at the top, there's a little toolbar and there's a little chat, and you just click on that, and you should be able to see on the right-hand side of your screen, a little chat area, and you can just, it says to everyone. You can actually send a private chat if you want, but it says to everyone, and then you just type in, if you could type in your why marketing, why publicity, why social media, why bother? And I'm just waiting for some responses. Don't be shy. Okay, so I'm going to start with Stephen. Not a lot in my area that I know about Brainspotting. So I need to get the word out. Oh, I'm in the same boat, Stephen. Like I'm in Sun Valley, Idaho, and there's no other Brainspotters here. So need to get the word out. Want to spread this wonderful healing tool. I love that. Besides marketing for the rest of my business. Yes, so that's a great why. I love that, and anchoring yourself in that why. Christina says, I want to find a way to eloquently and confidently articulate how I serve and help others. I love that. Let's see. Brittany just put something in, so it just scrolled up. I also want to grow in ways outside of the traditional one-on-one client. Ooh, this is going to be good for you as we get into some of the content building that you can do around courses for groups. Yeah, such as groups, retreats. Ooh, that's awesome. Okay, so those are some awesome ideas. Jana says learning time effective ways. Oh my gosh. Can I tell you that, like, and when I get into the presentation, I just got a new puppy yesterday. Like, Brittany, like, I don't need a new puppy or anything else in my life. Like, I'm already totally like up to here. So yes, we have to figure out a way to do this all with limited time, because we all have very limited time, but it's about allowing others to benefit from your knowledge. This is Jana, and I totally agree. It's like, why doesn't everyone know about Brainspotting? Like, I can't stop talking about Brainspotting, but the whole world needs to know about it. And then information in areas of expertise, including trauma with the Brainspotting, addiction, and perinatal mental health. Okay, and then Brittany says, hi everyone. I love to clean up my materials and website. Ooh, okay. just so that I'm representing myself and my business the way that I want and conveys your style. Okay, so we can maybe talk a little bit about brand, about messaging. I'm just writing some notes about making sure this is customized and time effective, getting the word out. Okay, and groups. Okay, awesome. And then I'm going to scroll down. There's one more message. Let's see. I think there's another message coming in, but okay. So I hope that sounds like a good agenda as far as you're talking a little bit about messaging, about brand, representing yourself, representing Brainspotting as eloquently as we can, and to support David Grand's work. We all are huge fans of him, and it would be amazing for the whole world to know about this modality. So what I'm going to do, it's 8 minutes now after the hour. I'm going to take less than 30 minutes to kind of do a little bit of teaching, because I'm sure you all want to walk away with, okay, how do I do this? How do I, what does a brand consist of? How do I convey my message? How do I get the word out? How do I build my practice? How do I help more people? Could a group possibly be in the future? And all in time effective strategies. So I'm going to share my screen and go right to, I gotta move this out of the way. This is really funny. So I decided to I mentioned that we got a puppy yesterday. And so I thought we would just start with a little bit of oxytocin in our session with that little face. So that is yesterday. We got a Halloween puppy. He was born on September 1st, so just 8 weeks old. And we have another dog, and that's my son in the background. Brittany, he's the mountain biker. And yeah, so that's where we are. You can see the ski mountain in the background. We already have snow where I live, which is why I'm in a sweater. And this obviously is about marketing, publicity, and social media made easy for the Brainspotting community. I didn't invite anyone else because I wanted to keep this to an intimate conversation about how we can spread the word about this modality in a fabulous, effective way. And I'd love to, Cynthia in the Southeast region has been doing some work. I actually just listened to a webinar she gave about marketing, and I think she's going to put together a committee that would support the whole Brainspotting community. The logo for Brainspotting with the little filled in O, that is trademarked or copyrighted. And so that's one of the things that you'd want to get permission to use. And always we want to be crediting Dr. David Grand when we do anything. So every single podcast episode that I publish, I always mention brainspotting.com. I always mention David Grand as the founder of this modality. And so just a quick review of like the ethics policy on the brainspotting.com website is really good to make sure that we are, consistent. And the hope would be, if Cynthia wants to take on the marketing committee, or if we're going to build something around that, that it's all, in clear communication with David and his wishes, so that we can all just be part of a movement to create more awareness around this amazing modality. So that's just a couple of things about Brainspotting, and then I'm going to move on here okay, so a lot of you don't know me. I know Brittany from phase 4, but this is me up in the mountains. After that day, I had really, really sore legs, but this is when we peaked, one of the peaks here in Idaho. We have some really, really tall mountains here, and I went on a tour, and there I am at the top, and like, oh my gosh, so tired. I actually have a business background. I have an MBA. My CNC is a certification in nutritional counseling. So I've actually been working with a lot of people from a lifestyle intervention standpoint around nutrition and how that relates to mental health. I'm currently a student at Northwestern, which is hysterical. And I am getting my counseling degree, LPC, as well as a PhD. And my CPC is coaching. So that's really how I work with clients today, is under the coaching umbrella. But I do use Brainspotting. And for I'm just going to meet somebody here. And so for my research that I'm doing for my PhD, oops, it just clicked forward. It's fine. For that, I am using Brainspotting, and it is amazing. I am so incredibly, I've always been amazed by the modality, but just so how incredibly flexible it is, and the results that I'm seeing, I'm kind of like, oh, I want to get the word out about what I'm seeing. I even have a case right now where we've corrected ADHD with Brainspotting. So I do not diagnose or treat, but the tools that I use a QEEG, which is a quantitative, EEG, kind of like what Santiago Brand does. His chapter in the new Brainspotting book is fabulous. But anyway, that's kind of a little bit about me and how I'm attached to the Brainspotting community and really passionate about our work. Do one more muting thing here. And okay, so if you just joined us, I'm just gonna go through a few things. Please put things in the chat. Like if you have a question in the next 25 minutes or so, like, oh, I want her to go back to this. What I'm going to do at the end is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then we'll all be together. We can see each other's faces, like the grid. What is that game show where you can see everybody's faces? But we'll do that again. But the chat box is a great way to capture questions. So if I go, kind of over something and you're like, wait a minute, I want more information about that, just put it in the chat. And that's the first place that will go when I'm done. I don't really have a lot of slides. I didn't want to overwhelm everybody with things. So really what I wanted to do here is kind of talk about some definitions and maybe reframe some of your definitions around marketing and publicity and social media. And you're welcome to put it in the chat. I can't see it right now, but you're welcome to put it in the chat. Like what comes to mind for you when you think of marketing? And I'm just going to take a guess out there, but a lot of people think that marketing is gross, like, ooh, icky, like slimy, salesy stuff. And, I really want to reframe how we're thinking about these things, because having that reframe, and when I start to get into the definitions of how I see them, and I did actually hate social media for a long time. And hate is a very, very strong word that I don't use very often, but I strongly disliked it. And I've learned a way to function with it. And then I realized that I can have a lot of gratitude for it because it's a wonderful way to share. So definitions, then I'm going to give you a top tip. So if I could do one thing in marketing, if I could do one thing in publicity, I could do one thing in social media, this is what I would do. And then we'll talk about next steps and then go into your questions. So that's kind of the deal for this morning. I hope that sounds good. And I'm just trying to, okay. So here we are. I'm going to go out there on a limb and say that I'm going to hopefully reframe some things for you around these words. So I think of marketing as love. So if you're on this call this morning, if you're spending an hour out of your busy day and not seeing a client right now, it's because you're curious about marketing and publicity and social media. Well, marketing, we all love Brainspotting, and marketing is a way to allow us to get the word out about Brainspotting. So if you love David Grand's work, if you love Brainspotting, if you love helping people, and I certainly saw that in the chat, then marketing is something that I would encourage you to really start to go, okay, it's not gross. It's something that can spread love. Kind of radical, but I strongly believe that that's the case. Publicity. So publicity is like getting on radio, TV, podcasts, guest blogs, things like that. It's getting on stage to use somebody else's audience to spread your word. A lot of people are like, ooh, that means the Today Show. No, it's all those things. And I'm going to talk about how podcasting is my favorite form of publicity. And it's about adding value. So when you get on a show, and you can listen to any of the Brainspotting interviews I've done. So I've had a lot of people on my show who are brain spotters to talk about their practice. Like they're just adding value. And what I do is I have two podcasts. One is for authors. Another one is for people interested in wellness and life lessons. It's called Mountain Mantras. And I pull out mantras from the episode. And these mantras are like actionable, awesome tips that add value to people's lives. And so publicity isn't about getting in front of the TV and being like, well, my this and my that and blah, blah, blah. No, it is about having some incredible things. I know all of you have incredible tips and ideas and tools to share. And so you're adding value to the audience. And then the idea is at the end of the interview, if it's a podcast interview, it could be 30 minutes, it could be 45, sometimes they're even longer. The audience is like, in this intimate relationship where you've been in their ears for that long, and they're excited to learn more about you. And, when Thad finished his interview, you know, people reached out to me and they were like, wow, how can I get in touch with that? And the thing about that is if he can't be there because he's in Colorado, and I know a lot of people do brain spotting remotely, but he's happy to connect people with people in different areas. And that I've seen on the Facebook group that you've been asking for a lot of referrals. So again, this is adding value to the world. It's really cool. And then social media, I said I used to strongly dislike social media. But let's think about social media as sharing. Again, it's not just about like me. It's about like, oh, and I'll show you some tools about how I share other people's content. I actually just schedule it out in advance. I'm not actually doing social media every day. In fact, probably during this webinar, a few tweets will go out, but I didn't do it. It was my system that's sending them out automatically. And I'm sharing because the things that I've put into my system are things that people, get value from. And so it's fun to share. And so I not only share my own content, but I share other people's content. And that has got me like on Twitter. Only a couple years ago did I get on Twitter, and I'm already, around 10,000, and LinkedIn around 11,000. So, this is something that over time, you don't have to like sit at your computer and do this all day, but if you're sharing and adding value and spreading some love, it really adds up. So those are my definitions. And I'm going to move into my top tip around marketing. I will tell you though, I mentioned that I have my MBA, and marketing to that world. If you guys remember the 4 Ps, it was product, price, promotion, and placement. Like I just throw that out the door. Like, yeah, there's some applicability to brain spotting and to what we're doing, but not so much. And so instead, I think about marketing as love. And then my top tip is to find out how you like to spread love. And I was thinking about these different profiles of spreading love, and these are just 3 examples. There's probably unlimited examples, but the first is a world traveler, and I'll tell you what that might mean. A social butterfly, and a content creator. So as I go through these descriptions, like which one fits you? Like, how would you like to spread love? Would you like to be a world traveler? I know Dr. Grand loves to travel, and he's spread his love around that way. A social butterfly, if you like to be at parties and, have living room chats, that might be you. And content creators we'll talk about. There's somebody mentioned a course creation. So that would be something, books about things, blogs. So this is just a way. There's, again, probably a lot of other examples of archetypes of how you might want to tap into your marketing superpower. But I'm going to go to the next slide. This is really the only area I have a lot of slides for. I mean, this isn't that many, but okay. So, and these are actually based on real people. I do work with a lot of authors in my client group for coaching. And so the world traveler is actually a guy I know. He wouldn't mind me using his name because he's quite a public person. So his first name is Daniel. And what he does is he goes all around to conferences. He does, keynotes. He does breakout sessions. He does retreats and sort of that in-person speaking. And he really hit it in terms of getting his work out and the word out and the ability to help people when he got on cruise ships. And that's like his thing. He loves cruise ships. And so he's pretty much on cruise ships like all year round. And he books these groups and he shares his content in this intimate setting where they have, a week to 10 days, sometimes shorter if it's a short cruise. But like, how great is that to integrate something that you absolutely love into a marketing strategy that helps you reach more people and helps people? So that's a real example. Social butterfly is also another example. What was her name? I'll just say it was Cynthia. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was also an author, and she was a client I work with. And she was retired, but she was retired from her, life career, but was writing a lot of books, and she had children's books. And she was a grandmother, and she loved to make her new career, which was like her post-retirement career, all about her social life. And so she went to farmers markets every weekend and she would talk to the kids. She went to libraries. She had parties. She had other people host her for parties. And her books went everywhere. And again, like a book could be a piece of content that you can share. Um, and she had so much fun with it. So she integrated her love of being social with her marketing and sharing her work with other people. So that's another example. And then content creator, I think this might be applicable to our group today because somebody mentioned groups and getting past one-to-ones so that you can reach more people. So what I would have you think about there is a book is fabulous. I have a free course and I can, when we get to next steps, I can share the link I have a course called Make Publishing Fun. And it is a whole course about like, it teaches you about the publishing industry, about like how to go about writing a book, how to budget it, how to market it. And it's totally free. So I'm happy to give it to you if you're interested in a book. And a book doesn't have to be like a magnum opus, like a life's work kind of thing. Although, you know, because if I'm going to give a book to anyone, I'm going to give David Grann's book to people, and I give his book to like so many people. Like I have stacks in my office and I give them to people because that's a great sort of magnum opus to give to people. But if you have a book that's, you know, about your work, your practice, even if it's a children's book, I have a couple of children's books that support my work with nutrition. Brittany has those. And it's about eating a rainbow of fruits and vegetables. But it's just a fun thing and it's something that you can give to people. And it also is a piece of marketing material. So again, people think of like websites. Brittany, you mentioned websites. People think of brochures. People think of, you know, speaking and other, you know, business cards and logos and stuff. And I'm just trying to get you to think outside of the box. It can be a beautiful photo with like a Brainspotting quote. I mentioned quotes here on the slide. I'm going to be showing you an example of an Instagram post that went wild. 2 clients in one day came in and showed me this thing. And at the bottom, it had this woman's website. She actually does nutrition for mental health. And her practice is totally full. She's got a waiting list and she's going to have to figure out how to, you know, potentially get things like courses together so she can reach more people because she's completely full. So I'll make sure to talk about courses. I'm going to just put that in my next step. I'm not going to talk too much about brand now, but I will. Actually, you know what? Since I just said the word, brand is way beyond logo. When I talk to my clients about brand, it's about your vibe. It's colors, it's emotions, it's your fonts, it's your images, it's your colors. And I actually have a fantastic presentation about brand. If you want to see sort of what a brand is, I'm happy to send it to you after the call. I'll put that in the next steps. But it's really important that when somebody goes to your websites or receives a brochure from you or sees something on your social media that really is giving the vibe, the emotion around what you want to convey and who you want to attract and who you might not want to attract, because that's what a brand will do. Is you can pop on somebody's website and say, no, that person's not right for me. That's what a brand's supposed to do, is supposed to filter people out. So before I switch here, podcasts and summits are when they have groups of speakers together. Dr. Gran was just on a summit. And so he participates, and that helps because then the content goes to a broad group of people, and that's another way to market. So there's all different kinds of ways to get out of the box. Don't just think about the product, price, promotion, and placement that you might have learned in a business class, but instead think about these other things that maybe just are a little more fun. That's my big thing. Okay, so that was my big tip for marketing, was to get your superpower defined and kind of work within that. Never work, you can work on your things that need to be improved, i.e. weaknesses, but I'm more of a strengths person. And so if you've got a strength, I would say that would be where I would spend your time. So it's marketing, superpower. Next tip is on publicity, and publicity again, radio, TV, blog, guest blogs. Like there's all different ways to do publicity. I've done them all. there were, when my books came out, I was booked on radio shows like 3 times a day. I did TV, getting up at 3 in the morning. And oh my gosh, if I could do it all over again, I would just do podcasts. And I can talk more if you're interested about why I love podcasts so much. But I will just say that is the way to have a more intimate conversation with your listeners, to provide more value on this conversation. I have been looking on my iTunes app for Brainspotting podcasts ever since, I learned about Brainspotting. And Beth Medina has done a bunch. I'm always looking for Brainspotting podcasts, and I couldn't find that many. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to start having brain spotters on my podcast. So that's my favorite way of doing it, because people love podcasts. You can listen to them while you're hiking and walking and doing the dishes and at the gym. So a really great way to get to know about a modality like brain spotting. And then here's some statistics. So years ago, I started my podcast a few years ago, and like 20% of the population was listening. Now it's way over half the population. These statistics on the page show you that you can reach a different group. I mean, most books, for example, 70% of the book reading market is women. That's true for other ways of reaching people, but podcasts are a great way to reach men. I think that's starting to shift. More and more women are listening, but it's interesting. It started out more of a like male thing, and like people like John Lee Dumas, who started Entrepreneurs on Fire, and Pat Flynn, they kind of started this whole thing where it was like the guys would listen to it in their car on the way to work, and it's grown way bigger than that. Last year, there were over 500,000 podcasts. There's now 700,000 and growing. So I will say that it's really, in my opinion, about guest podcasting. And I'm going to just briefly put up this, if people want to go into like, how do you do guest podcasting? So reach out to podcast hosts and be on their show. This is just a quick slide. I can come back to it. I didn't want to get into the nitty gritty of it. But there is a way, there's like a formula for making sure that when you reach out to a podcast host, that you're doing it in a quality way. And I want to get through the tips so I can take down my slides and interact with you all more. My last tip is making social media a system. So when you guys put your why in there, we don't have extra time. Like, we're not going to sit at our computers all day and like type in content. So you want to do it in a time effective way. So I've listed here on this slide some of my favorite things, my favorite tools. So Communit, I can go in there if you guys want to take a look at my Communit. It's free. I don't pay anything for it. I could pay for it if I wanted to do like a bunch of stuff in it, but it gives me 10 actions a day. And it's just that website. It's just commune.it. And what it does is it starts to know me over time. And if you guys want me to like go into my interface, I definitely can. But it shows me like Michelle Obama comes up on mine. Like, do you want to share her tweets or share anything of her content? And so again, social media is about sharing. So I might just click retweet, and then it goes out, and I spent less than a second doing it. It also shows me who followed me, who might have unfollowed me. So I can just quickly in there, I do 10 actions a day on Communit. That's it. And then I'm done. So that's my kind of Twitter thing. In terms of sharing content, I use Social Jukebox. I learned about Social Jukebox when I interviewed like the top social media influencer in Houston. Her name is Sklar. What is her last name? Okay, I'm like not in that world right now, but I can send you, I have a podcast interview with her, and she's fantastic. And what she said is, Catherine, if you're going to actually be on social media, like if I'm on Facebook, I'm interacting with people. I'm not like posting stuff unless I'm sharing like a quick, like I did for this session, but I'm not just like, randomly like putting stuff up just to share it for the sake of it. When I'm on there, I'm in engagement mode. So let me explain that. I'm going to create a metaphor since I'm in the world of nutrition. So I'm a big fan of slow cookers. And so I love when I have guests over, I make a wonderful meal. And usually the main course I put in a slow cooker. And you can do all kinds of things in a slow cooker. What that means is I do it ahead of time. And when the guests come, instead of like sweating over the stove and like, having my back to them and they all want to talk to me, but I'm too busy making dinner. What a slow cooker allows me to do is to be present for the people that are there that want to talk to me. Meanwhile, the stuff is just cooking in the background. I still have a meal for them, but I'm present. So, what Social Jukebox does for me is it allows me to put in content. I'm sure my Social Jukebox is sending stuff out right now. And then that's the way that I do social media. And then when I'm on social media, I can be present for people because I don't have to worry about all the logistics of like typing up a post and making sure it's the same number or the right number of characters and da da da. That's all happening for me when I'm on, I'm engaged and present. I'm happy to show you my Social Jukebox interface if you want to see that. I have a weekly content sheet that my virtual assistant does for me. She's really like, it's not that many hours, it's not that expensive, and she's really good. She creates all my images for me, and we have a system. And I probably spend maybe 5-10 minutes a week on content that's going out every day. And I have seasonal content, so I'm really excited for the holidays, and so I'll have like special content for that. And I also belong to a social media club, which I pay a membership to. It's not that expensive, but it's something where if I belong to the membership, then everyone in the membership shares each other's content, which is really cool because it's actually called the Evolutionary Business Council. It's all people that are transformational leaders that want to create more awareness in our world. They want to help the world. So we're all kind of aligned in that way. And so we share each other's content, and my followers have grown a lot because it's not just me, it's like people sharing my work. So one thing as we get to next steps, and then I get to your questions, is like, obviously with Dr. Grand's blessing, like, would it make sense to have a club for brain spotters that, had content and we could share each other's, we could have one maybe central person, like a virtual assistant. That's what we have in my social media club that I belong to. Could we share somebody and have that person be sharing each other's content? So if you're part of the group, then, if I'm part of the group, I'm sharing your content with my audience. And if Brittany's part of the group and then Brittany sees something that Stephen has, then she's sharing Stephen's. And that way there's more of us talking about brain spotting and sharing quality content that's going through a central place. And who knows, like maybe that would create some really nice buzz. So just ideas. Here's this is just a screenshot of my social media system. Again, I can take you in there live if you want. But it's a Google sheet that I share with my virtual assistant. And so if I'm going to do a podcast, I am going to share that podcast with my listeners. This is actually a podcast that I was on. So I'll just go through the first one. This is, I was on John Lee Dumas's podcast. And then so my VA created an image for it. And then she created some content for it. So the key to productivity is to take action. She tagged John Lee Dumas. He always retweets it and likes it, which is really helpful to me. And then the link is links to my blog post, which goes to the interview. Does it have the right number of characters? It can't be more than 280 on Twitter. And we keep this in here because a year ago it was like 140. So I need to count how many characters. If the rules change again, then I know, like now they're only allowing this. I can go back and I can edit this out and have a shorter amount because this is evergreen. I call this evergreen content because people are always going to be interested in productivity. They're always going to be interested in John Lee Dumas's podcast, right? And maybe in 5 years I won't promote this anymore, or I won't share this anymore. But for now, this is something that is totally relevant, and I try to make my content evergreen. So once I've created this is actually useful for me. I'm not doing it very often, but I put it in Social Jukebox, and that shares every once in a while. And I might share it like a couple times a year in my weekly content that goes out to like LinkedIn and things like that. So this over on the right-hand corner is just my interaction with my VA. Like is it ready to go in? Because I don't want anything going into my system unless I've looked at it, read it, and approved it. So that's my system. It's like a little peek in the back door of what I'm doing. This is what I was telling you about earlier about how just a simple image can create a huge buzz for philosophy, for a business, for your practice. So this is Holly Fisher Higgins. And this is the thing that my client showed me, 2 in one day, and it's like gone completely wildfire. So she is working with mental health and nutrition. And so she just kind of was really authentic and said, like, I was told I had major depression when I really had unresolved trauma. I was told I had bipolar, but I had nutritional imbalances. So, I mean, you may or may not like this content, but I will tell you that this type of authentic content where she is saying as herself, like, I have struggled and, I thought I had, impulse control disorder and disassociation, but I had exceptional creativity and intuitive abilities. Like, I don't know what it was about this. I think it was the authenticity of this. And again, this is about sharing. It's about, wow, maybe there's some hope, giving hope to people that they are not broken, that they can be fixed, that there are solutions, that there are other ways of looking at things. I think can be a great way to share. So this was just an example. I wanted to show you what kinds of things get just a ton of traction. This went on Instagram, and I was like, wow. Okay. Woo, I've stayed on track. I was just a half an hour, so I can take your questions and go through anything else that you might want to talk about. But the next step, so let me tell you, this was like a super informal little webinar. I mean, just for me to put a little post on there and have so many people comment was like humbling. And I didn't really do anything like create a landing page to track who was interested. I don't have your emails. So it's really, really informal. And if we want to stay in touch, we should figure out a way to do that. So what I did is I created, there should be a dot here after that www, but you can't click on it anyway. But this is a pretty link. It's another little tool that I use to allow people to go to a place easily. So if you go to makeeverythingfun.com/BSP form, all one word. So BSP form, Brainspotting form. Basically what it is I've just done a Google form and I'm like, what do you guys think of this? Like, did you get any value out of this time? What do you think we should do as a Brainspotting community? Like, how should we stay in touch? Are you interested in more information about brand? Are you more information about some of the things that I went through quickly? Like, this is just a initial conversation. So, and I just put a little informal thing on Facebook. So if you want to do the Google form, great. If you don't want to, no worries. If you're interested in a course, this is crazy cool from like the universe putting things together. But the person that trained me, Chris Kyle, who is a totally heart-centered entrepreneur, and I love him. He's worked with Claire Zammit at Evolving Wisdom, and puts together, and he actually loves Brainspotting, by the way. He tried EMDR and then he like reached out to me and he was like, I went to a Brainspotter. So he loves Brainspotting. He has taught thousands of people effectively how to put together courses. And I was talking to a few Brainspotting people and they're like, gosh, Catherine, I'd love to reach more people and to teach them about how I'm using Brainspotting in conjunction with other things. How do you do it? Because I have courses. How did I learn how to do it? And then Chris reaches out to me and he's like, oh, I'm doing these free webinars. Let me know if you want to share it with your audience. So rather than putting it in a newsletter and inviting the world, I just put it in the Brainspotting group. So next Thursday, the 7th, and this is at, actually don't quote me, it's on the landing page. It's in that Brainspotting group. I think it's at 11 a.m. Pacific. So it would be noon my time, Stephen, noon Mountain. That's going to be 90 minutes talking about, Chris is going to go through in incredible detail how to create a course, all the technology, the front end, the back end. It is so cool. It's how I learned how to do courses, and he's one of my favorite teachers. So if you're interested in reaching more people, that is a total must do. And he did do like a landing page, much more formal than what I did. So that's in the Brainspotting group. So if you sign up, then you'll automatically get the recording. So it's a little bit more organized than what I did for today, but you know. And then, yeah, any other ideas you have about staying in touch. So with that, I am going to exit the slideshow. I am going to move my Zoom and stop sharing screen. And yeah, okay, so I'm going to check out. Oh, okay, so this is from Jana. Wanted to make sure everyone is aware that David has commissioned a U.S. Brainspotting leadership team that is also working on large-scale marketing. Awesome. And you're one of the members. Jana, do you want to, can I unmute you? Can you come on and talk about it? Okay. I think you might have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Okay. So this has just kind of been a labor of love, but I think the idea is we're working very closely with Dr. Grand. It's a group of people from all over the US, and we are trying to have a broader organization, like an overarching organization. The Brainspotting community is interesting because we started off with regional leadership, and it just really feels like for consistency and sustainability long term, that Dr. Grand really wanted us to have kind of an overarching organization for lots of things. And so, you know, some of the things that we're working on closely are things like branding, logos, materials, you know, being able to have downloadable flyers, handouts, etc., you know, for people, and to have a greater membership, have a more functional website. All this stuff is kind of in progress. And so it's pretty exciting. But so, I mean, not to say people can't do their own things, but I just wanted to let everyone know that it exists and is moving forward. You know, nothing moves quite as fast as you would hope, but one of the things we're doing is trying to get paid folks involved, like consulting organizations involved, to be able to take this on, some of the pieces on, because it takes more than volunteers to be able to really make a sustainable long-term organization.
Awesome. So yeah, I think that's great. And one thing to really remember is that, you know, Brainspotting has come so far already. I mean, the books, the Sounds True courses, you know, the new website, like the website this year is so much better than it was last year, right? So there's already been so much great work, but to hear that it's going to go, whew.
Yeah, so there's like a research arm, there's a marketing arm, there's, you know, just trying for things like, you know, the international conferences, instead of having one set of people do it and passing it off, having it more, you know, an overarching place, you know, policies, procedures, bylines, like, bylaws rather, you know, those types of things. So I think that there's a lot of promise and good things to come. And so, you know, as we get clear on what we'll be doing, we'll obviously need more people to help as well. I mean, we're a committee of about 10 of us. It's going to take more than that.
Well, definitely, Jana, you know, throw my name into the hat if I can do anything to help with, you know, podcasting or summits, things like that. I love that stuff, and I love
Awesome.
Brainspotting. Like Thad said, like, I just can't stop talking about Brainspotting.
It's great.
Cool. So you guys, we've got just under 15 minutes, and I spoke pretty quickly because I wanted to give you time to ask questions. So anybody wants to ask a question about anything we've talked about or that we didn't talk about? And I'll watch the chat box. Okay, so can you talk about how you went from hating to loving marketing? Okay, you dread it. Okay. Okay, so maybe this should be something to brain spot on, right? Because sharing this modality and how it helps people is such a beautiful thing. And so maybe it's, again, going back to what the definition of marketing is in terms of tactical things, right? So I think people think about the 4 Ps, right? That product, the promotion, the publicity. I want you to just get that out of your mind. And again, Brittany, since you asked the question, like, if we go back to some of those things, do you love to write? Are you more of a visual person? Do you love photography? Do you love to, I know you love to interact in your social, like, do you like to talk about brain spotting and tell stories? Do you like to be in front of groups, right? So how do you move from hating to loving something is to find what you love, and not necessarily like love about marketing, but what you love to do, right? And I know that you love to help people and to work with people one-on-one. But I'm hopefully one of those things that I mentioned, whether it's like, I love to write, to me, it's just this wonderful Zen out time, and it's fabulous. I also love to talk to people. So for me, the writing part, doing some blogs, having the podcasts, like, that's my thing. I don't, because of my kiddos, like, I don't really like to travel that much right now. So for me, my marketing superpower would definitely not be the world traveler, and it wouldn't be a social butterfly on a larger scale. So I guess to answer the question is, it's really, really individual, and it's thinking about, like, okay, when I'm not with my clients and helping people, what are things that I like to do? And it could be just being creative about, what, I love to be out in nature. I mean, you live in a beautiful area, taking pictures of the lake, of the leaves. Stephen, I see the beautiful trees behind you in your picture. Putting just a like a pithy quote or something over that photo, and putting that Instagram on, and just like David Grand says, be curious. Like, you're not going to put it out there and go like, oh, I want people to like it. Like, you're doing it because you love doing the photography and it means something to you. I was just walking on a hiking trail and all the leaves were shedding, and I was like, wow, this is like nature is totally letting go. And then I was kind of thinking about clutter clearing, and then I started thinking about brain spotting, and I was like, wow, like, brain spotting is such a cool way to like clutter clear out your your past traumas. Like, could there be a saying about that, and could that relate to some kind of nature picture? Or it's just one of those things. It's like, it just depends on what you absolutely love to do when you're not with clients. Does that help, Brittany? Okay, good, good, good. There's a comment here I'm going to read for people that are listening to the replay. Let's see. I really appreciate, this is from, I think it's from Christina. I appreciate your authenticity. Just as Brittany said, I would love to obtain all of these resources that you offered. I've been haphazardly trying to figure out all these things. I've been watching those putting out and how to do the back end type of stuff. But none of this has had quite a fit for me yet. So I'm excited to hear about your offerings. I love to learn tactical steps to put something out to the world, not just planning and planning and planning. Yeah, planning is fine, but taking action. When I used to be in management consulting, which was my career before my kids were born, so I used to work with AT&T and IBM and Motorola and GE, really big clients. And by the way, when I launch all of my kiddos, I have one right now, she's an animal sciences major at UVM, and my son is still in high school. But when I launch all my kiddos, one of my dreams is to get back to the corporate world and potentially bring brain spotting to corporate America, because that is a part of this world where people are truly in need of a holistic healing modality. And I think brain spotting would be really, really powerful there. But so what am I saying here? So I'm saying that, so tactically, all right, let me, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show my screen again. Well, first tactical thing would be, I'm going to go back to that PowerPoint link, would be to folks listening to the replay and you guys live, please go to the Google form, because then we can stay in touch. I'll ask you for your permission. Maybe we can create a group to support the larger group that's on the umbrella. We can start to work on this together as a group. And then, I mean, one of the things that I would be willing to do is to do like a group coaching over a series of weeks where, like, you know, this week we talk about how to set up your social jukebox. Because, you know, Christine, I think that's your comment, is about like, how do we take action? So like maybe a 7 or 8 week program where everyone sets aside a few hours, you know, not per week, because we don't have that, maybe an hour per week, where everyone is actually setting up. Like this week we set up a social jukebox. This week we set up a weekly content. This week we talk about how to do Instagram images that are really powerful. Even better to coordinate with the larger Brainspotting group. But I would totally be willing to do a group coaching. Let me, since we only have 8 minutes left, let me share my screen. I'll just show you some of my guts of my systems so that you can see. Oh wait, there was just a comment here. Hang on a second. When I move, okay, would love that. Oh, well, like a group coaching. Okay, so put that in the Google form. If there's enough people that are interested in it, you know, the idea would be, per your comment about action, is, you know, we start this date, we end this date. I'm really big on, I mean, that's my project manager and me, and, you know, having a work plan and having milestones. But like by the time you're done, everybody in the group would have, you know, their basic platform set up. They would have some basic training on brand. If they wanted to do a blog sharing, that would be something we could totally do. Go through each of the profiles, you know, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, so on. And then by the end, that would just be something I'd want to figure out with the group is, what do you want to have? So let me show you now. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen, and I'm just going to share my desktop. So if it's kind of messy, I apologize. So that's where the form is, makeeverythingfun.com/BSP form. And that should go directly there. I think I might even have it up. Let's see. Here's social jukebox. Yeah, here's the form. So I just did this little interest form. So there's 3 questions. It won't take you more than a minute. Your name, what's the most valuable thing you learned? So I get a sense of what people are interested. Would you be interested in a group coaching program? Perfect. And are you interested in a shared social media assistant, like I have for my Evolutionary Business Council? Because that makes your life so much easier. You basically just say, this is my area that I work in integrating Brainspotting with, and then somebody is actually putting your content out for you. So I mentioned, let's see where I'm going to start with my Communit. So this is I haven't done anything yet on Communit. You see I have 10 actions left. So I can actually show you real time. Let's see what I have here. If I move this Zoom out of the way. Okay, so I love Michelle Obama. I actually had lunch with her. She's so amazing. And so it was my daughter's doing. My daughter won a contest, a Healthy Kids Lunchtime Challenge. So I got to meet her, and she's really tall. She's super buff, perfect skin. Oh my gosh, what a glowing example of what she talks about. So I'll just like retweet her. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to share at the best time. It's going to schedule it for me. Boom. I just did something right there. And so I don't want to retweet that, but you know, so that's just, so basically it shows me like what's going on so I can share, because social media is about sharing. People aren't following me back. If I want to know, if I care, here's some new followers, I can just follow that person. Boom, that's done. So I do 10 things a day on Communit. Really, that would take 10, like it doesn't take 10 minutes, because that wasn't a minute per. It takes a few minutes. That's Communit. Social Jukebox, let me show you what Social Jukebox is. So Social Jukebox, this is a paid thing. It's definitely less than $200 a year. It's probably like $150 for 10 jukeboxes. And so what it does is I have like my photo quotes. This is just what I was telling you about. It's like an inspirational thing that I share with people because I love photos and I love inspiration. And so if I go into this jukebox, what it does is there are 69 posts that my VA helped me put in there. And they're probably going out as we're talking. And we're going to finish in like 3 minutes because I've got it in 4. So yeah, these are just some of my content. So here's what I always put an image. So here's the photo, here's the text, and this is just going out at we set the rate at which we want to share. And this is just going out without me even doing any work. Once I get it in there, it's all evergreen. And then if I go to my virtual schedule, you can see that like every day of the week, there's things going out. Right now, I'm also sharing some recipes because that's something I'm very passionate about. And then when the new year comes, I have some special content about the new year and like clutter clearing and all the inspiration about the new year. I share my podcast. I have it off right now because the Twitter changed the photo sizes, and so I have to resize things, and then I'm going to turn it on. I have some other seasonal things. So that's how my social jukebox works. And then I'll show you just my work plan that I have with my social media assistant. So like these are some things I wanted to share with people. This is that course I was saying that's free about publishing. makeeverythingfun.com/publishing course all together. And you can see like I want to share a couple of like Cindy, that's Cindy Smith. I want to share her interview coming up. These are reminders. You know, Thad's interview, NaNoWriMo, it's November is National Novel Writing. So this is actually this week, so this coming week. You know, so this is just the text. My social media assistant has the image, and she will just post this every day. She'll have something to post. This goes directly into LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and it goes on my Facebook business page. So I don't do any of this. I mean, I do spend 5-10 minutes putting this stuff in every week, but then it's going out, and then when I'm on social media, I can engage. So that's my quick and dirty back-end system. And like I said, once you build it, you don't really have to worry too much about it. It's kind of, what is it, set and done or something like that. Okay, so 2 minutes to the hour. Any last minute questions? Otherwise, I know we all have clients coming up. So everyone's like, yes, yes, yes. So I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you so much. I know you're all so busy. I am too. And I appreciate your wonderful work and dedication to this incredible modality. And I'm excited to be in touch. Please fill out the Google form. I will thank you too, Stephen, for joining. And I will put this replay in the group. If you know anyone that would like to listen to this recording, just, you know, tag them or whatever, share. Thank you so much, Jana. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Christina. You guys are amazing. I love you all, and come visit me in Sun Valley, Idaho. Okay, talk to you later. Have fun with your clients. Continue helping people. Bye.